Over the last 2 years, I've learnt some really interesting things about appetite, cravings and emotional eating and how to control them in a healthy way. By doing the things in this video, I've managed to find solutions to the unhelpful eating habits that I used to have, and I hope that this video might be helpful for other people too. Before we get started, I'll share a quick bit about the hunger and eating habits that I used to have in order to put all of this into perspective. Despite eating healthy food for most of my life, I had two weird eating habits sometimes, and I never knew why I had them. The first was, there was a point a few years ago where I was always hungry, no matter how much I ate, and even when I was full, I was still hungry. And I'm a bit embarrassed about the second one. Although I've eaten whole foods for most of my life, every 2 to 3 weeks I'd have a massive junk food binge, eating so much it was like I was in one of those competitive eating competitions, and I was never sure why I had these two habits, but since learning some of this stuff, I think I finally found my answers. In this video, I'm going to share 5 easy and healthy tips in order to control appetite and cravings based on the science of how the body works. In order for the 5 tips to make sense, first we need to explore the hormones that are associated with hunger. When it comes to being hungry, or the opposite, feeling full, it doesn't just come down to the amount of calories we eat or the volume of food in our stomach. It also comes down to hormones. The 2 hormones we'll look at in this video are ghrelin and CCK. Ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone. When we feel hungry, that's ghrelin in action. It's made in the GI tract and it stimulates areas of the brain associated with eating. People have different levels of ghrelin depending on their lifestyle and eating habits. The more ghrelin someone has, the hungrier they'll be, and the way to find out ghrelin levels is with a blood test. Ghrelin naturally rises and falls throughout the day based on meal times and blood sugar levels. However, the baseline levels of ghrelin can increase when we're sleep deprived, during extended periods of high stress, but most commonly when someone is excessively restricting their calories and not eating enough, which quickly leads to weight loss in a short amount of time. The reason I used to feel hungry all the time, even when I was full up, was because my ghrelin level was almost double what it should have been. And this was a result of having done intermittent fasting for 7 years and going for long periods each day without eating. And this isn't me saying that intermittent fasting is bad. This is me saying that intermittent fasting wasn't suitable for me. And on a general basis, men tend to do well with intermittent fasting without it having a negative effect on their health or their body composition, while it doesn't tend to be as good for women. It's all to do with biology, and you may find this video interesting. Anyway, when I learned this, I stopped intermittent fasting and my ghrelin levels returned to normal, but it took 1 year for that to happen, and slowly over the months I stopped feeling as hungry, and now I no longer always feel hungry, and I definitely don't feel hungry and full up at the same time. CCK is something that I've learned about recently, and it is fascinating. CCK, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce this, cholecystokinin, is a hormone that reduces hunger. It works like this. Food comes in, the body recognises this, and it releases CCK, which signals to the brain that we're getting full and to stop eating. And there's a brilliant, easy and healthy way to stimulate CCK, which I'll share in a minute. And this switches hunger off, meaning not thinking about food, not wanting any snacks or having any cravings. And it's actually pretty magic. Hooray! This is one of my favourite nutrition tips. It's my favourite because I've been doing this for 2 years and it's dramatically improved my eating habits along with my body composition and my health. In the stomach, we've got these special receptors which detect nutrients in food. And these receptors are searching for a variety of things, but in particular, they're looking for omega-3 amino acids and CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid. And they're looking for these nutrients because they are what we need in order for the body to function and be healthy. Omega-3 is what's in oily fish and nuts and seeds, but it can also be taken as a supplement. Amino acids is protein, so meat, fish and certain plants. And amino acids and protein could be taken as a supplement, but it may not be the best thing to do, which I'll explain in tip 3. And CLA is in meat and dairy, but can also be taken as a supplement as well. When the receptors in the stomach detect these nutrients coming in, it kind of satisfies them. They send a signal to the brain to release CCK, and that reduces our appetite, helping us eat within a healthy range. How amazing is that? If we eat food with little to no nutrients in, even if we eat a lot of it, enough calories, enough volume, the body will likely carry on being hungry because the receptors haven't been satisfied and the body hasn't released CCK, which means still feeling hungry, overeating, snacking and cravings. So how can we use this information to our advantage? Satisfy the receptors early. Eat the protein first, take an omega-3 and or CLA supplement before a meal and kickstart that process of satisfying the gut receptors. CCK will be released sooner and then we'll feel satisfied sooner before overeating. For me personally, I eat a minimum of 40 grams of protein for each of my 3 meals, and that ticks the amino acid box. I like to have oily fish for my breakfast, so that ticks the omega-3 box. But I understand that not everybody would want to do that, so an omega-3 supplement before meals is a good alternative. I used to take a CLA supplement 2 years ago when I first started my health plan, and I took it before my breakfast and my dinner, but I don't take it anymore because I'm eating plenty of food with CLA in, so I'm guessing that I'm getting enough to keep my gut receptors happy. Essentially, the body is always on the lookout for omega-3 and amino acids. Don't give the body what it wants and what it needs, and it will probably keep being hungry, keep getting cravings, and that food noise will continue. The cupboards of junk food is calling. It's likely we get that because we're not giving our body the nutrients during the day that it needed. And from my own experience, I've found that focusing on those 3 nutrients at the start of most of my meals is an absolute winner. Another way to reduce appetite and cravings, especially for sweet food, is with glutamine. Glutamine is an amino acid which latches on to those gut receptors, therefore releasing CCK and helping reduce hunger and cravings. Glutamine is in these foods, and I mean, in an ideal world, if we were hungry between meals or if we got a craving, we'd have some eggs and spinach or some fish and vegetables. But come on, how many people would actually do that? So instead, glutamine can be taken as a supplement, either as a powder or in a capsule. The powder is so cheap and easy. Mix 5 grams in a glass of water and drink it before a meal or when you get a craving for sweet junk food. But this next bit is really important. The cells in our body really like glutamine and they use it to grow. So glutamine isn't suitable for people with cancer, and it can also cause blood sugar to raise. So it's probably best to speak to a professional if you're thinking about doing any of this stuff, because I am not a professional and I'm only sharing what's worked for me over this past few years, and what's worked for me might not be suitable for everyone. There's quite a lot of information in this video, so if you're wanting all of the tips written down, I've made this cheat sheet and I've put it in bullet points so it's easy to read and with all of the most important information in red, and you can download this via the link in the description. This next tip is about emulsifiers, and emulsifiers are in ultra processed food. I know, we all know that ultra processed food isn't good for us, but hear me out because these 2 points are extremely interesting. Emulsifiers are found in these delicious foods, and it's what combines the fat with the water and creates that smooth, delicious consistency. and they also extend the shelf life. Emulsifiers are also in so-called healthy food like yogurts, protein powders and milk alternatives like oat milk. And here's where it gets really interesting. Emulsifiers strip away the lining of the stomach. I mean, it doesn't sound like a good thing, but if you need convincing, here's 2 reasons why it's not a good thing. Firstly, it disrupts the gut biome, which then negatively affects our appetite, along with mood and the immune system and inflammation. And 2, emulsifiers cause the gut receptors, the one that I spoke about already, to retract back into the stomach lining. So now they can't do their job of detecting the nutrients. CCK will not be released and the signals to shut down hunger don't get triggered. So then we want to eat more. Here's a list of common emulsifiers that are found in food, and an easy way to find them in an ingredients list is to look for words ending in "ate" or "gum". If someone eats foods with emulsifiers in a lot of the time, even when they do eat foods that are high in the important nutrients that I already spoke about, the receptors can't detect those nutrients because they've retracted back into the stomach lining, so they can't send signals to the brain to satisfy hunger. So that means still feeling hungry and then probably overeating despite eating healthy food. Now, I know all of this stuff about emulsifiers might sound a bit dramatic, and I'm not going to start doing an Eddie Abu on you.
What the is this, guys? Wake the up.
And I know there'll be some people who say,
a little bit of what you fancy.
everything in moderation. Look, I'm not the emulsifier police. All this depends on how far you want to take it and how important it is to you. I, for one, am a sucker for a protein bar or a high protein chocolate mousse. Saying that, since learning this stuff about emulsifiers, I'm eating less of them, and the less I eat, the less I want to eat. But there can be a compromise. This is what I do. If I want a high protein chocolate mousse, I make sure that I've had a nutrient dense meal first. I do my best to keep my gut receptors happy with the 3 nutrients. Then if I still want the deliciousness after, then I eat it. But most of the time, I don't want it anymore. This is a hot tip. If you've got protein, carbohydrates and vegetables on your plate, an easy way to regulate hunger is to eat the protein and vegetables first, then eat the carbohydrates after. Obviously, there's no need to be neurotic about it, but eating the protein and vegetables first satisfies the receptors, starts the process of releasing CCK and reduces hunger. But also because eating carbohydrates first increases blood sugar faster. And when blood sugar increases quickly, it causes us to eat more, which is why bread is served first at restaurants, to stimulate our appetite. It's why when we eat lots of junk food that's high in sugar, we keep feeling hungry. Like when I used to eat all that junk food in my big binges, I would still feel hungry after, even though I'd eaten hundreds, maybe in some cases thousands of calories. My blood sugar was through the roof. Gut receptors were frantically looking for those nutrients, and my hunger was never ending. Eat your protein and vegetables first. Okay, we're delving into the last tip, and it's an interesting one. But first, I'd love to know if you're going to try any of these things. Perhaps you do some of them already. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about what you think about all of this. I've been surprised as I've been preparing for this video, watching other videos on the topic of hunger and cravings. I've seen some people recommend tapping on your forehead when you get a craving, or taking 3 deep breaths, drinking a pint of water because maybe you're dehydrated and not hungry, or watching a hypnotherapy video. Now listen, I'm not sure about you, but when I used to have a craving, there was no amount of tapping my head or therapy that could stop me thinking about food. It's the thing I like about the things I'm sharing in this video. It's based on our biology, but here's where it can get tricky. This next one is something to bear in mind if you have trouble controlling your appetite. We've got various factors to consider, such as genetics, upbringing, stress, trauma, and neurodiversity. For example, we inherit our gut biome from our mothers, and our gut biome plays a role in our appetite. Were you brought up with limited food around, which has created food anxiety later in life? As a child, were you rewarded or punished with food? Stress and trauma can lead to someone using food as a coping mechanism, either eating too much or not enough. And each of us has a difference in our brain and hormone levels, which can have a big impact on appetite and eating habits. It's interesting watching my mum and dad around tasty food. They eat healthy food pretty much all of the time, and they don't have junk food in the house. However, put them around tasty treats and they tend to go into this autonomous, eat a lot of it mode. And I'm guessing that some of my eating habits have come from nature or nurture, or probably a mixture of both. I've also recently worked out the reason why I was emotional and binge eating. It was undiagnosed ADHD. People with ADHD tend to have lower dopamine levels. Dopamine is related to motivation, attention, learning, and mood. I used to use food, especially tasty junk food, for motivation to get important work projects done, to keep me at my computer during a tedious video script or video edit. Oh, salted crisps and chocolate with crispy caramel pieces were my absolute favourite. I knew I wasn't hungry, I knew I didn't need them, and I knew they wasn't good for me, but having them was a physical need, and now I understand why. I was looking for ways to increase my dopamine, and that would help me get my work done. And it's been fascinating because since starting medication for ADHD, which increases my dopamine levels, I no longer have the intense need for those foods, and I haven't had a single binge in over 3 months. The desire has totally disappeared, which I still can't believe sometimes. It's the most bizarre feeling because I've had it for years and now it's just gone. And the reason I tell you this is we could all do the things in this video. Satisfy the gut receptors, take the glutamine, eat the protein first. But our eating habits can go deep and they can go beyond some of this stuff. And for me, even understanding these complexities can really help me improve my eating habits. Here's a recap of all the tips. They're not going to be a magic solution to everything, but I'm pretty certain that they're going to make a really big improvement pretty quickly. You can get the information sheet via the link in the description. YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next, so maybe give that a watch.